fell to our last two Sith innovators to try and fix the problem Ruusan had created, and they attempted this in completely different ways. Our second to last Sith innovator was the last leader of the new Sith, the Dark Lord Kaan. Kaan lived in the final decades of the new Sith Wars, at a time when the Republic was on the brink of collapse, but the new Sith were too busy fighting over who got to be the Dark Lord of the Sith to take advantage of it. Most of the galaxy was abandoned by both sides, protected only by the Jedi Lords, Jedi who had established permanent protectorships in remote sectors across the galaxy. The Jedi Lords held galactic civilization together, but they were mavericks, rarely acknowledging orders from the Jedi Council and regularly bucking the Order's doctrines when they disagreed with them. For this reason, the Council really didn't like the Jedi Lords, and to cut down on their popularity within the lower ranks of the Order, they selected a champion of their own to lead what was left of the Republic military against the encroaching Sith, then Jedi Master Kaan. Kaan was one of the Order's most promising students, gifted with a powerful tie to the Force, an excellent grasp of strategy and economics, and the rare art of battle meditation. He rose rapidly through the ranks, eventually attaining the title of Jedi Master and being tasked with leading a counteroffensive against the new Sith. Not long after he embarked on this mission, however, Kaan became enamored with the teachings of the Sith, fell to the dark side, and declared himself the Dark Lord of the Sith, setting out to unite the Sith under his banner. For that to happen though, the Sith needed to undergo some major changes to address the problem created by Darth Ruusan. Kaan's solution to that problem was radical, but highly effective. He dramatically walked back the core Sith idea of the rule of the strong, and offered to recognize all of his rivals' claim to the title of the Dark Lord if they joined him. All Sith Lords who joined Kaan would be equals, he promised. This successfully worked to unite the warring Sith Lords, who together formed the Brotherhood of Darkness. This completely united the new Sith for the first time in centuries, but this came at a cost, as the Brotherhood heavily compromised on many aspects of Sith philosophy. Kaan cracked down on internal competition and infighting in the Brotherhood, forbade the usage of the title Darth for fear it would inspire such competition, and acknowledged all the Dark Lords of the Sith and the Brotherhood as equals, though Kaan was a de facto first among equals. Kaan's Brotherhood was basically just an evil Jedi Order, a Sith faction only in name, but it was very effective at conquering large swaths of the galaxy. The Brotherhood's conquests were opposed, however, by the Army of Light, an alliance of Jedi Lords that went to war with the Brotherhood of Darkness in 1010 BBY. For the next decade, the two sides slugged it out all across the galaxy, culminating in a final, devastating campaign on the planet Ruusan. There, the two sides fought 7 battles, inflicting devastating losses on one another. In the end, however, the Jedi triumphed and the Brotherhood's armies were scattered. Lord Kaan and what remained of his followers retreated to a cave system deep beneath a remote valley, where, on the suggestion of the Sith renegade Darth Bane, they created a thought bomb, a powerful Force weapon that consumed the souls of all living beings within a large radius, which they sought to use to destroy their Jedi enemies. Kaan, who was beginning to go mad, believed that he and his followers were powerful enough to be able to resist the thought bomb's effects. He was, of course, wrong. As the Jedi descended into the caves to stop him, Kaan detonated the thought bomb with a clap of his hands, and he and all his surviving followers were consumed by it alongside their Jedi foes. For all his failings, Lord Kaan was a visionary. He made more radical changes to the Sith than any Dark Lord before him, correcting the problem of Ruusan and forging a strong and highly effective fighting force. In his Brotherhood of Darkness, we see an alternate evolutionary path the Sith could have taken, one that sacrificed core aspects of the Sith teachings in exchange for stability and the potential to conquer and rule the galaxy directly. But this path had a critical failing. The elements of Sith philosophy it rejected made it less capable of fully harnessing the power of the dark side. Because of this, Kaan and his followers began to rely more on conventional tactics and weapons than the dark side, and the Sith as a whole were weakened. For that reason, our last Sith visionary chose a completely different path. This last great Dark Lord, of course, was Darth Bane, the one who had deceived Kaan into destroying himself and the rest of the Brotherhood of Darkness. Bane was born on Apatros, where he worked as a Cortosis miner, doing some of the nastiest labor the galaxy had to offer to supply lightsaber-resistant Cortosis to the Republic. On Apatros, his life was hell, and the man who would become Darth Bane only managed to escape it by enlisting in the ground armies of the Brotherhood of Darkness. As a Sith soldier, he quickly proved to have strong Force potential, and he was inducted into the Sith Academy on Korriban, where he was trained to become a Sith Lord. On Korriban, Bane rapidly surpassed the other students at the Sith Academy, despite discovering his talent in the Force relatively late. In the process of studying the history of the Sith, however, Bane came to have doubts about the Brotherhood as he recognized how it had warped the Sith into just a dark mirror of the Jedi Order. In defiance of Kaan, Bane claimed the title of Darth and left Korriban, setting out to uncover more of the teachings of the old Sith. On Lehon, he found Darth Revan's holocron, from which he received the inspiration he needed to formulate his own radical reformation of the Sith Order. In the failings of the Brotherhood, Darth Bane saw evidence of the truth of Revan's ancient teachings. Its many apprentices and lack of a sole leader had made the Sith weak, but Bane believed that simply returning to the old ways would not be enough to resolve the problems with the Sith. Even Revan, he believed, had fallen into the trap of overvaluing the power of military empires and armies of darkside adepts. The Sith empires of old were a failed model, Bane believed, and the only way forward for the Sith was to reject them in favor of cultivating the power of the dark side and using it to accrue power in other respects. Furthermore, Bane believed that this power should be concentrated in as few people as possible. As he later wrote, the dark side was like venom, growing more powerful the more concentrated it was. Based on Revan's teachings, Bane formulated the rule of two. Two there should be, no more, no less. One to embody power, the other to crave it. Bane set out to re-establish the Sith Order, beginning by returning to Ruusan and manipulating Lord Kaan into destroying himself and the rest of the Brotherhood of Darkness. By the time the 7th Battle of Ruusan came to an end, Darth Bane was the last of the Sith Lords, the sole Dark Lord of the Sith, now free to remake the Sith Order as he saw fit. He took an orphaned young girl as his apprentice, naming her Darth Zannah, and for the next 10 years, the two lived in exile on Umbria, where Bane trained Zannah in his new version of the Sith way. Together, Bane and Zannah formulated a grand plan to destroy the Jedi and bring down the Republic from within, allowing the Sith to rule the galaxy at long last. For 20 years after Ruusan, they worked together toward this end, until Zannah killed her master at last, taking the title of Dark Lord of the Sith for herself. Darth Bane was perhaps the most important Dark Lord of the Sith in the entire history of the Order. He alone had found a way to correct the fatal flaw of the Sith, to create a Sith Order that had both long-term stability and that fully embraced the dark side. For millennia, the Sith had been undone, time and time again, by treachery, but under the rule of two, treachery would only make the Sith stronger. Since there would only ever be two Sith Lords, only the stronger of the two could ever kill the other. With every generation of Sith came a new betrayal, and with each betrayal, the Sith grew stronger. Darth Bane carved the Sith down to their bare essentials, and in doing so, he perfected their order. He was the last great Sith innovator, for after him, no further innovation was necessary. Bane had formulated the most effective possible structure for a Sith Order, and all future attempts at doing something different were weak at best and heretical at worst.